Friends, welcome to Cayo Hueso, otherwise known as Key West or the Conch Republic. Today we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to do an abbreviated shakedown. Remember our shakedowns from like last year? We're going to do a very abbreviated shakedown and perhaps a mini tour of Key West. And we're going to do that in the 2015 Mercedes Benz E400 Cabrio. So let's get the lay of the land here. We are on the south part of the island, so we're coming on A1A South, just around the Flughafen, the airport over here. And let's pass this Super Duty pickup truck. You know, you don't really want to speed around here. In the short time I've been here, there's been a lot of local constables. Anyway, so speaking of speeding, this is the E400 Cabrio, and I wanted to revisit this car for a very specific reason. It's really the only Mercedes Benz in the lineup now that's kind of long in tooth, because you and I have spent a lot of time over the past, I want to say 5-6 months, looking at every new Mercedes. We've looked at the S63 Coupe, we've looked at the GLA 45, we've looked at the S63 Sedan, we've looked at, what other ones have we looked? Oh, the C400, we can't forget about that. And that's why I wanted to bring this one up, because it's really, and the sun's really strong, sorry about that. But it is still a beautiful place. I wanted to bring this one up because this is really the big change with the E400. The logic here is they want to have the power of a V8, but get a little bit better fuel economy. So this is the 3-liter V6 twin turbo, 329 horsepower that we saw on the C. And I can tell you this, there is never an instance where I felt I needed power over, say, like I missed power from a V8, because remember we drove, what was it, the E500, they called it, back in 2013. We went over to Hamburg and Sylt, Germany, and we actually had the car drive itself, the self-driving Mercedes E Class. This one, I never felt like I needed more power. But I will say this, the fuel economy, get this, all the way from Fort Lauderdale Airport down to Key West, and I was not light on the gas, let's just say that. And I have averaged over 200 miles, 199 to be exact, 29 mpg. So the whole logic of increasing the fuel economy is definitely paid off here, and that's with the top down. So I wouldn't think you'd get a hell of a lot of increase in fuel economy with the roof down. Anyway, so I don't feel like at a loss for power, but there's a couple of things I did notice here. You definitely notice the age of this thing, and it's amazing how in today's day and age that a 6-year-old car, because really that's what this is, the first time we drove this body style was in 2009 when it was a 2010 design. But look at it now, it's still pretty. It's it's much more aggressive than the car that came out in 2010. They made that mid-cycle refresh in 2013. But the interior, like coming out of that C400 and especially the S63 and the S550s we've driven, it's from a time gone by. Actually, you and I just covered this in the S8 film. In that the S8, we said that was the interpretation of luxury for ultra-luxury cars for the past 50 years. I would call that the zenith of luxury for really high-end luxury cars, where the S Class is like the beginning of the next 50 years. This car here, I wouldn't say it's as good as the S8, but then again, the S8's a lot more money than this car. But I will say that the interior here, you can, if you hadn't seen the S Class or the C Class, kind of amazing that you're looking at the car below it, and you say the car below it is so much better than this. But that tells you where Mercedes' design is. It's amazing how much of a leap forward Mercedes made in this case. And I really haven't seen that with other car manufacturers. Well, let's think about that. Is there other car manufacturers that have made that kind of... Well, we just, literally this week, just drove the new XC90. And yes, they made that leap. Same kind of deal. Build quality, you know, the tactile feel of everything, the design, just stunning. But that's, outside of that, there's no other car I can think of that has that kind of a jump in the way the interior is perceived. So, with that being the case, I got to tell you, I am really looking forward to the new E Class. And that's another reason why I really wanted to look at this, because this is kind of the swan song for this car. We've already seen some of the spy shots of the new E Class, and surprise, surprise, it's going to look like the same design language as the S Class and the C Class. And the interior, surprise, surprise, is going to have that same kind of feel. But I got to say, I don't know what else to expect there. Like, I didn't expect the C400 to be that good. Now, granted, it now has the CLA underneath it to be able to let the C be better, because the CLA is now the base or entry-level Mercedes, and actually that's not that bad. It's kind of at the level of this. But then look at where the S Class is. It's so much farther above anything else out there right now. So really, what the hell are they going to do here? Other than it's going to be somewhat... Oh, look. Can you guys see the rooster? He's just chilling over here. Just come down to the Conch Republic and you hang out with a rooster and you can see an old biplane. I got to tell you, I am not a fan of Florida. Really don't like Florida, but if all of Florida looked like this, this would be a damn nice place. Like, look at this. It's like you feel like you're in another country. The architecture, the layout, everything about this little area is just, actually not even just Key West. The minute you cross over the aqueduct into, Key Largo, totally changes from the rest of South Florida. Anyway, I digress. So I'm going to actually pose a question to you guys here. And this is going to be the first of two questions here. What do you want to see in the new E Class? Like, what is Mercedes Benz, what are they going to be doing in the new E Class that you are excited about? Obviously, we know the dashboard, we know the design, we kind of have an idea of what it's going to look like, but what room do they have left? Because the C400 is so good. The C63, which sadly I've yet to drive, but we're going to fix that soon, is amazing from what I'm hearing. And the S Class is just off the charts good for that kind of a car. So really, does that leave any room for the E Class to be its own greatness? Let me know in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also, tell me, I'd really be interested to find out from anybody that's currently driving a Mercedes Benz. Like, if you guys have an E Class, a C Class, and any kind of Mercedes, let me know what you're excited about and what Mercedes you currently drive. So with that, let's transition. Oh, one more thing about Mercedes here. This car, very interestingly, is not, I've got the option sheet right here. This car is not amazingly optioned like some of the other cars we've had. So this one, we'll play a mini options game here. $61,350 is the base price, and it only had, well, you pay for the paint for $700, $1,300 for the leather. But rather than going through all the premium packages, basically the final price on this one is $74,300. But of the $74,300, this doesn't have the Distronic Plus. So I can't do that party trick of letting the car drive itself. And I got to tell you, you get kind of spoiled after playing. Oh, before I get into the Distronic Plus, the guys at Prestige, the people who manage the fleets, they are top notch. Thank you, Marcello, Angelo, Danger Nadal, even though you're Atlanta, and of course Tony Serrato. You guys rock. It was a pleasure working with you as always. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent now. But back to the Distronic Plus. I know this is like Don't Cry For Me Argentina, but it's weird to have just regular old cruise control. It's like, oh my God, the car won't stop itself in traffic. The car won't drive itself and let me sit and like cross my legs and cross my arms and scare people that are in the passenger seat. It's like, you kind of get used to this stuff. Now, back to Key West. So we are kind of in like the southern part of the downtown area, so you can kind of see all the little bed and breakfasts. You can see the people on the bicycles. Everyone is driving a moped or a scooter, and of course no one is wearing a helmet. I could only imagine how the hospitals stay in business here. But one of the most important parts I want to show you about Key West is right here. This is the southernmost tip of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. So this is, as they call it, the Conch Republic. This is where everybody comes when they come to Key West. And basically, they want to take a picture with this like thimble here, and they can always point to Cuba and say Havana is only 90 miles away. Technically, it's 106 miles away, but I don't think I want to burst the bubble of anybody sitting here. Let's press on here because we got some traffic behind us, which you can see it's pretty cool there. And there's one other thing I want to show you guys up here. Actually, two other things. So one of the main points of Key West to the U.S., it was a very strategic place to put a naval station because there's a 90-mile wide, basically strait. They kind of call this like the Straits of Gibraltar West because there's so much access for a deep water port and basically feeds the Gulf of Mexico. Anyway, I don't know if you guys can see here, this is where the Naval Air Station is, the Truman Annex. And then coming up here, one of its most famous inhabitants of Key West, if you guys have read any of his books, is the Hemingway House up here. So you can come down here and tour the house. It's like this. You really do feel like oh look, someone's getting married at the Hemingway House. Can you imagine getting married at the Hemingway House? That's pretty awesome. Anyway, let's switch gears from Ernest Hemingway and talk a little bit about the history of Key West. So it does have some interesting history in that it was founded by Ponce de Leon in 1521. And basically was settled by the Spanish. So the original language here was, well, not the indigenous language, but the original language of the settlers was Spanish. And then in 1763, the Brits took over the Florida Keys and basically repatriated the Spaniards to Havana. But then 20 years later, the Spaniards took it over. So they weren't that excited about Key West or Cayo Hueso, so no one really came back. So the then Spanish governor of Havana, because it was territory of Spain at that point, he deeded the land to a naval officer, a Spanish naval officer. And he wasn't that excited about it either, but he was excited about the idea of selling it. He sold it not once, but twice. He sold Cayo Hueso at that point, that's what it was called, to the former governor of South Carolina, but then he found another sucker, and he was a businessman that had business in Alabama and Washington, so you can imagine he was a bit more connected. So that guy, let's turn here and go back into town. So that guy, he could pull a couple of strings and say, wait a minute, you're not double selling this thing on me, I'm getting the deed on this thing. So he ultimately got some friends in Washington to sort it out for him, and he became the owner of the island, if you could own Key West. And then that's when he exploited the very strategic nature of the 90-mile wide strait, or Straits of Gibraltar West, and started to do more, and that's when the naval station came in about 100 years after that. And then it just kind of turned into what it is today, a very kind of eclectic today. I noticed we did see, sadly, one chain store, which I am not happy about. But most of it is all like one-off places. And then, of course, there's the disgusting tourist area, which I'm kind of deliberately staying away from here because I don't want to see it. But notice the beautiful architecture here, like these old school houses that they kind of look like something you would see in the real South, not the Florida South. I know this sounds weird coming from a New Yorker that really, not Miami, but Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, very much South New York. But to see this beautiful architecture here really makes you feel like you're in another country. Like almost, if you guys have been to New Orleans, Louisiana, you get this kind of architecture there as well. God, I wish all of Florida was like this. It's really pretty. Yeah. Got a little bit of a traffic. Yeah. Oh, I got nowhere to go.
Yeah, as long as they don't, you're good.
Can you get through?
Go anywhere. Oh, I'm not in a hurry.
Okay. Can you believe that? Here we are. When have you ever heard a New Yorker driving a car and someone saying to them, I'm not in a hurry? Thank you.
No worries.
Welcome to Cayo Hueso. That explains everything with this place. So with that, we're driving away from William Harbor, and I want to leave you guys with a question. So this is obviously not our usual like full-on multi-camera, multiple camera guy kind of thing. This was just me playing around, telling you about a car I wanted to drive and just kind of revisit before it goes away and do it in a cool place. Do you want to see more of these things? Do you, like, we go to a place and we're filming something and we might not like have a car we're going to shoot, might use it as a camera car, but still might be something you guys want to see, or you want to see places like this because we do a lot of travel. And you need to be following me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Actually, more Twitter and Instagram for this kind of stuff because I tweet and Instagram like a 13-year-old girl, so you would see all sorts of pictures of this car as we drove down from Miami. Anyway, oh look, a graveyard. So we're ending this on a graveyard. How wonderful. So do you want to see this kind of stuff in the future? More of this kind of stuff. This like basically very simple, me and a couple of small cameras just kind of telling you about a really cool locale with a unique car. Let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And now I need to tend to the business of finding a very nice and very fresh piece of fish.